Good morning. I'm Doug Chilcott. Welcome to TED Global 2013 and the Open Translation Lounge. This morning we actually have Pico Iyer, whose life and work has been all about crossing cultures, which is actually kind of an ideal topic for us to talk about today here in the Open Translation Lounge. Also joining us today here on site is Tariq from Sri Lanka, Kinga from Poland, Amaranta from Spain, and remotely we have Nafisa, an Uzbek speaker from New York, Sergio from Portugal, Arpine from Armenia, and Meriç, a Turkish speaker who's Skyping in from California. So welcome, all of you.
Thank you. Hello.
So the topic today, which is appropriate for the Open Translation Lounge, is the question of, is foreignness extinct? Pico, we all hear so much about how technology and transportation and the whole globalization of the world has kind of made everything smaller, and that cultures and languages are all melting in together. What do you think about that? Do you think that's true?
I think get off the plane tomorrow in India, Haiti, or Yemen, and you will be as displaced and confounded and unsettled as ever you were. I think multinationals have an investment in saying that there's no more foreignness. And I know CNN, for example, never uses the word foreign, and I remember IBM used to have that campaign saying the word foreign is itself foreign these days, and I think United Airlines does the same. And it's true that as people have more and more countries inside themselves, if you think of the archetypal global being, let's say Barack Obama, he's not really a foreigner in Kenya or in Indonesia or in the United States. He's partially at home everywhere. So in that sense, I think it's eroding. But what's interesting to me is the notion of home and the notion of foreignness are constantly in movement now. So they're shifting, but I think they're still there very much. But sometimes switching places disconcertingly.
All right. So actually, I throw it open to some of the translators in terms of you're all coming from several different cultures. You're linked in the sense that you're actually translating TED Talks into your own languages and cultures. And I know that sometimes we think of things as being foreign. They're usually their locations or experiences. And obviously, sometimes ideas themselves can be foreign. I'm just wondering, in terms of the translators, sometimes is the idea foreign?
I think the ideas definitely can be foreign. For example, when I translate talks into Uzbek, I only translate what is relevant to the Uzbek culture and community, because some of the talks might be addressed to, on purpose or not on purpose, addressed to American culture or the European culture. So some things completely don't make sense to my culture. So when I'm translating, even the issue or the need for it, the idea of it can be foreign. So I don't transfer it. I don't translate it.
Great. I'm just wondering, when you're actually translating a talk and you actually encounter a word that is so foreign that actually there's nothing like it in your culture or in your language, how do you confront that? Amaranta?
Normally you have to keep the original word and explain it. But that's actually a way of enriching your own language. But I think most words are untranslatable in a way that any word, when you pass it to a different language, it suddenly have different connotations. Mm-hmm. And that can be scary, but it's also really enriching. So.
Wonderful. Technology actually has been a great way of kind of exposing us to so many things that were so foreign. Everything is very available. And I'm wondering, actually, in the context of language, has technology actually helped to preserve certain things?
I imagine a lot of languages that are growing out can be preserved through a posterity technologically, as they wouldn't in a human context.
And foreign's actually, it's an odd word. I mean, it makes almost a judgment. I feel like as an American, foreign language was always presented as something exotic and other than English, which is actually, I'm not sure how that translates.
Well, I've lived in Japan 25 years, and it still seems the most foreign place on earth to me, and that's part of the fascination and the allure of it.
How about you, Arpine?
One thing that I can think of at the moment is not connected with a certain place, certain location, but people. It can be both in my home country and in another country that I'm visiting, to feel foreign, to feel foreignness in a company of people that are so different than me, with their mindset, their values, and that's the most foreign thing I can feel. And it's not connected with any location. It's just about the people that I can feel foreign.
Thank you. Nafisa?
For me, the most foreign thing is actually what used to be native, I think, because I started traveling at a young age, and once you go back, you're not the same person anymore. So once you have changed and seen the world and been to different places. All these parts of places you've been to become you, basically. And when you return, for example, to, when I returned to my hometown for the first time, I felt very foreign. And that the culture, everything, that actually I had cultural shock, not traveling around, but coming back. So that was the very interesting experience of realizing how much we change and how much the native things actually might become foreign in a way because of our changes.
Okay, I think it was when I traveled to America the first time. It's the way people interact on the street, because a random person can just come up to you and start a conversation. And if it happens in Poland, you're wondering, what does he want from me? Right. Yes, so, but then when I returned to Poland, and maybe I'll try to do the same thing sometimes. And I noticed that the reactions are just like I would have reacted a couple of months ago. So it has changed me, and I started to expect a different thing.
So in terms of moving towards the future, Pico, your opinion is different from everybody else, seeming like that eventually we're going to have like 3 languages, and it's almost like multinational corporations. They'll just kind of culturally take over the whole nation, the whole planet, and we'll kind of bleach into 3 different groupings or something like that. I just want to talk a little bit more about what happens as we proceed into the future. What do you see?
I think the world is always going to be as diverse as it always has been. And even if everybody in this room is speaking English 20 years from now, a Polish-speaking person, well, let's say if you had a Mongolian, a Norwegian, and a Bolivian person in this room, all speaking English, I think they would still be as far apart as when they were speaking Mongolian, Norwegian, and Spanish, because of the values, the implications behind each word, and even the way that they're using English and importing their own terms into it. So I don't see the world becoming homogeneous. I think the heterogeneity just takes new forms.
So language isn't the last bastion holding these cultures apart from each other. No.
And I'm guessing that's what translators find. It's interesting going back and forth between England and America my whole life. I find that they're almost mutually incomprehensible. When I first made that transition, I thought they speak the same language. And the longer I've made that commute, the more I see they're speaking radically different languages, though it's called English in both cases.
Wonderful.
I just have one question,
yes.
Because when you spoke about companies having this marketing campaign against the word foreign, it seems that they assume that it's a bad thing. Whereas when I hear foreign, for me, it's an attractive thing.
Yes.
I prefer to think of a foreign world as a more interesting one. And it seems that they're trying to avoid it because it's worse. So how does this work, these expectations or this judgment of good and bad related to foreign?
Well, I think you've put your finger on the main conflict within the planet that we're witnessing now, that some people are drawn into the foreign, as you are, and some people are turned off by the foreign and want to recoil from it. But I think in their cases, they want to say that they have reach everywhere, and that Starbucks will be able to reach 200 nations and always be serving the same product. But you and I as individuals want the countries to be as different as they always were. And so I think their goals were almost the opposite of ours. But I'm with you very much. I like the foreign. I always want to be surrounded by the foreign, in fact.
I'm just wondering if any of the translators have a question for Pico as our guest. Does anybody have a question?
I just want to at least share this feeling that I have, and I seem to share with other people in the panel, that there is beauty in uniqueness. I do realize that there is also value in culture mashups. Typically, if you're a very multicultural society, you'll tend to have less prejudice, to be more tolerant, I would hope. But there's also great beauty in uniqueness. I was in Germany a month ago in the Black Forest region, and the places that I liked the most were the ones that were more unique, that were more special, that were more picturesque, whereas in larger cities that shall remain nameless, they could be in any country in the world. So I do think that being different and preserving that uniqueness is something we should strive for.
Thank you.
I loved what you said, and my sense is that the more globalized the world becomes, the stronger is the power of the local, just as you said. And those German villages has something that nowhere in Japan or America or China can compete with. And I also feel all of us here, maybe many of us are wearing jeans, we're wearing T-shirts, we're all speaking English, and we're just as unique as we ever were. So I think we're able to draw from the surfaces of many different cultures, but each one of us is still completely different, and that's the beauty of even the present world.
We spoke earlier about you're living in Japan, and you described Japan as the most foreign place you'd ever been.
Yes.
Could you talk about that and why?
Everything is reversed there. People take their baths at night instead of in the mornings. The light switches go the other way. Even when you arrive at the airports, the baggage carousels are moving in the opposite direction. And that's what I love. It just goes to what you were saying. I love the fact it's radically foreign to everything I grew up with in England and the United States.
Do you think that regardless those differences, there are like some universal human values or universal human nature, or you think that we are even different in our wishes or ways of thinking the world?
Such a good question, yeah. I think you're right. I mean, in the level of manners and customs and social interactions, quite different, but deep down, exactly the same. So I have a Japanese wife who's here, and if we're having an argument, she'll be very, very quiet and very different from what you would expect in most cultures. But nonetheless, I can see she would be angry as any woman from any other culture would be in certain situations. And so I think what's so interesting about Japan or any culture is that mix of the different layers of foreignness and familiarity and the dance between them. So on the surface, the Japanese people are shy about showing emotion, seem very foreign, but the emotions that they're feeling are just the same, I think, as in Spain or the US. Or
I have my doubts because
you don't think they're universal? Interesting.
I think some basic things are universal, but others are not. So it's not just manners, even your inner experience of love or of anger or of goals in life can be different.
Interesting.
But I haven't figured that out yet.
But it makes your job as a translator doubly interesting too, because if we say love in English, and when you're translating into Spanish, that's not just amor, it's something beyond, maybe.
Well, thank you all for joining us. Actually, the first session is about to start, so I want to make sure I can get you out in time to get your seats in the theater. So thank you, Pico, for joining us. We look forward to your talk later in the week.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Okay.